Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us on the webinar today, which the main topic is about global trade and infrastructure. How do we bridge gaps and leverage technology for a connected future? And for that, we are so happy to receive Luis Felipe de Oliveira, who is part of the Airport Council International and will introduce himself in a few minutes. And we have also with us Ed Britva from the Consumer Technology Association in US. And today, in this short episode, what we want and what we want to achieve is to, I would say, tease our brains and give ideas and also perspective on how we will improve global trade while we are bridging the gap and leveraging the technology for a more structured future. So, Luis, if that's okay, I will start with you. And could you tell us what is the global? Could you tell us, please, the role of the airports in the global trade um, um, economy?
Thank you, Nisrin. I'm Luis Felipe de Oliveira, the former Director General of Airport Council International World. Very happy to be here and very happy to share some insights about the airports around the world. Airports represent a big part of our trade in the world, especially in the value. Around 90% of the trading value in the world pass through our airports. That's why the huge economic social development for the countries that we serve. In addition, we have around the 10% of the global economy is linked with the travel and tourism sector, that airports are a crucial part of this sector as well as a part of an ecosystem. We have great perspectives to grow in the future. We expect that the sector will grow around 2 times in around 20 years and 2.5 times around 2.5 times around 30 years. And basically, this growth will come from the nations that are developing and are improving, of course, the ways of travel, investing in the infrastructure. Just to give you some hints for our discussion in December, airports to cope with the sustainability aspects and with the demand need to invest $2.3 trillion in the next 20 years. And that, of course, will come with a lot of technology, with a lot of investment in people and a lot of infrastructure as well. That's why exciting times ahead and looking forward to see you all in Dubai in December for our discussion.
Thank you, Luis. And can I just jump quickly? I received this question. So, does it mean we don't have enough airports for trade today in the world?
We have in our association, that is ACI, around 2,100 airports globally. That represents 96% of the global traffic. Basically, 85% of the airports in the world are below the threshold of 2 million passengers. And that these airports will continue to grow, especially in the mid and middle cities. And in addition, of course, different hubs that doesn't exist will start to be created in different parts of the world. Only, for example, in India, 150 airports will be built in the next 20 years, and that is very excited. And the growth, of course, in India, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, and other countries in Asia will be around 300 to 500% in the next year. That's why, of course, we need to continue to invest in the infrastructure to grow, but also how we can invest in efficiency as well to have our buildings more efficient, to continue to develop the aviation sector and bring the socio-economic development for the countries and the cities that we serve.
Thank you, Luis. Wow, that's huge numbers. And I mean, when you are in the airport industry, so it means you are at the right place, definitely. I just want to welcome Luis Yao Aful that just joined us. Welcome, Luis. I will come back to you in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ed, can I maybe jump into, let's go back on the other side of the Atlantic. and I know you have a very unique perspective on what is the critical role of technology and consumer trade policies. What do you think is the impact on global supply chains? And of course, it includes so many things, e-commerce, and we're just talking about aviation, which is air freight, etc. What is your perspective, and how can we see this future in terms of role of technology and consumer trade? Thank you, Ed.
Thanks very much, Nazreen. It's a pleasure to be part of this conversation with Louise and Louis. So again, I'm Ed Bristois. I'm the Vice President of International Trade at the Consumer Technology Association, and we are a U.S. headquartered association, but we have a very global outlook and perspective. And we are, at our core, advocates for the innovation economy and for the use of technology by as many people as possible around the world. And when I think about technology, I think about solutions and trying to find ways to solve the world's biggest challenges, societal challenges in every single economy. I also think about the power of innovation, and innovation can come from anywhere by anyone in the world, from a developed country, from a developing country, from a small community to a large community. So technology is used by people, whether it's in their role at their jobs or at home or in their education. And consumer technology is broadly what people use in their day-to-day lives and what they buy at retail. But generally speaking, people use consumer technology in their professions as well. So the use of technology is critical to supply chains. More and more supply chains are becoming digitized. People use laptops, tablets, smartphones, so many different types of connected devices to enable supply chains and to make them more efficient and to optimize them. And if we're talking about moving goods across the world, we need to make those supply chains more efficient to reduce costs for consumers, which has another effect of making those technology products more cost-friendly to households all over the world. And I think about the developing countries. They are going to be the source of growth, as Louise indicated. We need to make it affordable for them to buy technology and to build those developing countries into supply chains. And I think that is a long-term altruistic goal that we should all share.
Thank you very much, Ed. And can I ask, before I go to Louis, what is one of the, or if you can give us one example that is applied today and you see that it's easily implemented or easily followed in this path?
Well, I mean, the easiest example is making sure we're in supply chains digitizing everything. I mean, there's so much paper-based approaches still to supply chains, and that is costly. That is also not very environmentally friendly. And if you have a digital bill of lading, for example, that is going to be easier for trade to happen and for supply chains to work more efficiently in practice. I would also say the use of blockchain, other types of digital asset technologies to enable smoother and more efficient transactions, that would be a very core use of digital technologies in supply chains.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Ed. And it's true, that's probably the first step, is to how to digitalize every processes that we have in a company or industry. I just want to point out that this is part of our LogiTalks, and LogiTalks is for Logimotion. Logimotion will be, and it really gives me goosebumps, but it will be the biggest supply chain logistics platform and event in the Middle East. I've been based in UAE since 2006, and this is the first time I see in one event mobility, technology, supply chain, industry, etc., all together in one event. It will take place on the 10th and 11th December at the Dubai World Trade Center, and I hope that we will receive a lot of people to continue these talks. If I can, Louis, how are you doing? I hope you're doing great.
Thank you very much. I'm doing well. Greetings to is it Ed? And then
Yes.
my fellow Louise. I think his is Louis. I'm Louis.
You, Louis, exactly. So I just want to come to you and thank you for being here today and sharing your experience. I would like to ask you about the challenges and opportunities in creating unified trade policies across Africa. Of course, this is a long, a very old subject that has been, and Africa is a huge continent with so many countries in different layers. We have Sub-Sahara and North Africa, etc. But we know how complex it is. But can you please maybe shed some light on how like what is the role, critical role of technology in consumer trades and policies in in across Africa today?
Yes. Thank you for the. I am a trade and investment consultant. I focus also on the African continental free trade, which has to do more on the uh, one African market. And so, first, I mean, answering your first question with regard to the kind of trade policies happening in Africa. Currently, Africa want to intertrade, and so Africa is coming under one free trade agreement, which has to do with the African continental free trade, and has so many layers and so many protocols. And these protocols sums up every aspect of trade and investment. We have in protocol on investment, intellectual property. We have protocol on competition policy. We have protocol on goods and services. We have protocol on digital trade, and we have protocol on women and youth. So you can see that every fiber is really summed up. And the reason is that it's to boost intra-African trade. We want to be able to remove the non-tariff barriers to trade, which is very important. The non-tariff barriers. Apart from that, we want to liberalize our products. And so this continental agreement, which took effect 2018, has been trading for the past 4 years. It is important because it enables us to liberalize our product and focus on comparative advantage. If you look at that angle, then you could look at the fact that it is based upon tariff dismantling. Okay, I am in country A, you in country B. I realize that I can liberalize over a period of 5 years. You can liberalize over a period of 10 years. We are still trading. So what in fact it means is that it's going to boost export. It's going to also boost import for manufacturing inputs for the other side. And so it is an agreement that currently all the 54 heads of state have signed, apart from Eritrea, which is moving well. If you take services side, you realize that if you take ICT, which has been liberalized, which where you have ICT as technology, let me sum it up with the digital trade. There's a lot going on here because currently Africa is developing what we call the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is to enable intra-African payment. It's estimated about $5 billion loss when we go through the normal route, hitting the US before coming back to the SWIFT. But with this Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, you can transfer money, the buyer and seller, in their own currencies, in their own local denominations, and it is the central banks that do the settlements. The speed is about 7 seconds, and that is very huge. If you put that one aside, technology-wise, everybody is looking at the e-commerce part of technology. Apart from that, you could realize that there's a whole lot of data centers that are being built. Most Africans are really budgeting or funding data centers, which is very, very important to every kind of soft infrastructure. And so you realize that the agreement is holistic, and every path that you take is moving according to a certain strategic pathways. And this is what Africa is focused on to the rest of the world. And if you look at the agreement, even infrastructure is part of it. We call it trade-related infrastructure. Now that we have produced the goods, how does it move? How does it go? By rail, by road, by air, by maritime? How does it go? And so on the key agenda of the agreement is infrastructure, it's logistics, because it's very important. Africa doesn't have so much vessels. We have to count on foreign vessels, which shouldn't be. And they complain that there's no volume of trade, volume of production, and I agree. So we need to really look at how we are going to have a shift in terms of our manufacturing productivity, so that they can have a lot of. Currently, we have one vessel that has decided to own up for the African Continental Free Trade. If you talk about air cargo, you talk about air traffic. How many countries have national airlines? I am always happy with Ethiopia. What Ethiopia is doing is to ensure that they do joint ventures or investments, 60 to 40, and so forth and so on. So, in a nutshell, my initial comment is that the African Continental Free Trade is a one single market agreement that currently every African government is really a party to, and is implementing it stage by stage. And it's also open to third party countries beyond Africa. The US is taking advantage of it, and it's coming through the Department of Commerce to a program they call the Select 2024. China is taking advantage of it. And I think that if UAE feels that it's a master or it's a leader in terms of logistics and trade facilitation, why not? You can take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. I would just, you mentioned infrastructure, and I just want to ask you a question in terms of airport. We were talking with Louis earlier about airport network. How can you give us your point of view on how connected the airports are in Africa today? If we take, South Africa, Morocco, Nigeria, etc., different countries, do you believe it's going in the right direction, or what is the main challenge maybe to that connectivity?
Well, the networking, I think there's a good horizon, because currently there is I've forgotten the exact, I think SAT something. I think it has to do with the air traffic, in terms of air traffic, aviation, and all some of the aviation airports, airplanes, and what have you together. It's an agreement that most countries are ratifying. It's going to be harmonized. It's going to be like the trade agreement that has been signed. So we're going to have a kind of one-stop shop where we're going to look at vessel, we're going to look at aircrafts, we're going to look at which countries are collaborating and partnering. We're going to look at the harmonized kind of air traffic control. We're going to look at the harmonized, network of these airports. That agreement I'll have to follow up, because I know some countries have signed. That is under the African Union, which is pushing for this, and that is opening up for us, because it's very cost effective. If you take my country, Ghana, I think last 4 years, or I think the last 8 years, we're able to open our Terminal 3, which brought a lot of, you could see our arrivals, and it increased. We expanded our airports. If you look at currently, we've done about 2 more expansions, which is very, 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 very effective. We are really integrating both our jurisdiction locally and then within the sub-region. And I think if this is replicated in all the various regional blocks under the African Union, this will be very, very, very easier for us, so that you look at, you can do, as I said, joint projects. Ethiopia can say, look, Ghana, I want to have a 60-40 agreement with you. I'm going to finance the building of these airports to a certain level, and this is what percentage I'm going to get from the agreement. Those kind of joint ventures can be done, because not all African countries have that resources at the moment to accommodate some of these projects. But by and large, I think that it's an agreement that is a discussion that is ongoing.
Thank you very much, Louis. Thank you. And I'm happy to hear that everyone is targeting and going to the same direction at the end. We will round up and finalize and finish our webinar today. But before that, I will just ask probably one sentence from Louis and add. And please remember that this discussion will continue in December on the 10th and 11th December in Dubai Trade Center at Logimotion. Come and let's continue this discussion. Luis, just if you can please give one sentence to close your, we cannot close the discussion, but maybe to about the subject today, your last thought, and also Ed. Thank you.
No, fantastic discussions. I think we have a lot of things to discuss there. I really appreciate the comments from Ed and from Louis as well. I think we're very well aligned in terms of technology and infrastructure, free trade. That's why there is a lot of things to continue discussion in Dubai. And I'm looking forward to see you all there. Thank you.
I am also looking forward to seeing everyone in Dubai. My final thought is that we should recognize that all this infrastructure we're building, all the technology we're developing, and the integration of that technology and infrastructure should serve a higher purpose in our world, which is to, I think, grow our economies, to include more people in our economies, and to alleviate poverty and human suffering. So that is my perspective I'd like to share.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Louis and Luis and Ed, I'm so excited to see you in December. And thank you, Logimotion, for bringing us together on this platform and on these LogiTalks. Hope to hear more from all of us in the next few weeks. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.